The gunshot echoed through the marble hallway before the scream even had time to form. Charlotte Hayes froze mid-step, pizza box trembling in her hands, watching a man in an expensive suit crumple to the floor 10 feet away. Blood pooled beneath him, spreading like spilled wine across the white tiles. "Jesus Christ," she whispered, her delivery app still glowing on her phone screen. "Penthouse 47. Extra cheese. $8.50 tip." The suited man who'd fired the shot turned slowly, gun still raised, eyes cold as winter steel. Behind him, through the open double doors, Charlotte could see chaos. Men shouting in Italian, computer screens flashing red, papers flying. And in the center of it all stood someone who could only be Stephen Caruso. The Mafia boss looked nothing like the movies, no slicked back hair or gold chains. Just a man in his late 30s, shirt sleeves rolled up, tie loosened, staring at a wall of monitors like they held the secrets to his own execution. His jaw was clenched so tight Charlotte could see the muscle jumping beneath his skin. "Boss," the gunman called out, still watching Charlotte. "We got a problem." Stephen's head snapped toward the doorway. His eyes found Charlotte's, and for a moment, the world reduced to just that connection. Dark brown meeting startled green. Predator assessing prey. "A pizza girl?" His voice was rough, Brooklyn accent bleeding through cultured edges. "You shot Marco over a fucking pizza girl?" "She saw. I don't care what she saw." Stephen crossed the room in 4 long strides. Up close, he was taller than Charlotte expected, broader. A scar cut through his left eyebrow, and his knuckles were scarred like he'd learned to fight before he learned to read. "You ordered pizza?" The gunman shifted uncomfortably. "Vinny did. Before everything went to hell." Charlotte's survival instincts finally kicked in. She thrust the pizza box forward like a shield. "Meat lovers with extra oregano. That'll be $18.50. Stephen's eyes narrowed. Then, impossibly, he laughed. It was a short, bitter sound. "You got balls, I'll give you that." He pulled out a money clip thick enough to choke a horse and peeled off 100. "Keep the change. Tony, get her out of here." But Charlotte wasn't looking at the money. She was looking past Stephen into the office, at the screens painting everything in urgent crimson, and she recognized the code scrolling across them. "That's a ransomware attack," she said quietly. The room went silent. Stephen turned back to her, something dangerous flickering behind his eyes. "What did you say?" "The code on your screens. It's ransomware, Eastern European, probably Russian. They've locked you out of your own systems, and they're going to bleed you dry unless—" She caught herself, suddenly aware that every man in the room was staring at her. "Sorry, none of my business. I'll just go." "Wait." Stephen's voice cut through the air like a blade. He moved closer, studying her face. "You know computers?" Charlotte swallowed hard. This was it. The moment her past caught up with her present. She could lie, walk away, keep delivering pizzas and hiding from who she used to be. Or she could do what she'd sworn she'd never do again. "I know a few things," she admitted. "My entire operation is going dark in—" He glanced at one of his men, who held up 7 fingers. 7 minutes. Every account, every record, every contact. 20 years of work gone. My programmers can't stop it. Hell, they can't even understand it. He stepped closer, invading her space, and Charlotte could smell his cologne mixed with something darker. Fear, maybe. Desperation. "Can you?" Charlotte looked at the pizza box still clutched in her hands. Looked at the dead man on the floor. Looked at the wall of screens bleeding red like an open wound. Every instinct screamed at her to run. "How much?" she asked instead. Stephen's smile was sharp as broken glass. "How much you want?" 50,000. Cash, right now." One of his men laughed. Stephen silenced him with a look. "You fix this in 7 minutes, I'll give you 100. You fail." He let the threat hang unfinished in the air. Charlotte set down the pizza box and walked into the office, her heart hammering against her ribs. The moment her fingers touched the keyboard, muscle memory took over. She'd spent 3 years trying to forget this feeling, the electric rush of diving into code, of seeing patterns where others saw only chaos. "Everyone out," she said without looking up. You're breathing on me, and it's distracting. Like hell, Tony growled. Boss, she could be. Out. Stephen's command brooked no argument. All of you, except... He pointed at two men. You stay. Guns ready. She tries anything cute, shoot her in the leg. The room cleared. Charlotte's fingers flew across the keyboard, opening windows, tracking the attack's origin. Whoever had done this was good, better than good. They'd layered their attack through 7 different proxy servers, each one designed to slow down anyone trying to trace them. But Charlotte wasn't just anyone. She'd once been Ghost Key, one of the best hackers in the underground scene before she'd walked away, before she'd decided that being nobody was safer than being notorious. You're muttering, Stephen said from somewhere behind her. I think out loud when I code. Deal with it. Charlotte isolated the ransomware's core, found the encryption key they were using. It was elegant, she had to admit. Whoever wrote this knew their stuff. They're not just locking your files, they're copying them. Every transaction, every name, every dirty secret you've got, they're stealing it all while you're panicking about the lock screen. Can you stop it? Stephen's voice was closer now, right behind her shoulder. I can try, but I need access to your backup servers. You do have backups, right? Of course we... Stephen stopped. Marco handled the backups. Charlotte glanced over her shoulder at the dead man in the hallway. The guy your people just killed? That wasn't Christ. Stephen ran a hand through his dark hair. The backups are on an external server, warehouse in Brooklyn. But if I send men now, they won't make it back in. He checked his watch. 4 minutes. Charlotte's mind raced. Without the backups, she'd have to crack the encryption in real time, which was like defusing a bomb while someone kept adding more wires. Possible, but the margin for error was razor thin. Tell me something, she said, still typing. Why'd your guy shoot Marco? Because Marco set this whole thing up. Stephen's voice went cold. My cousin. Worked for me for 15 years. And he sold us out to the Russians for what? A bigger cut? A promise of his own territory? He slammed his fist on the desk, making Charlotte jump. I should have seen it coming. Betrayal's always hardest to spot when it's close, Charlotte murmured, breaking through another layer of the attack. You trust someone long enough, you stop looking for the knife. You sound like you know from experience. Everyone's got a past. Charlotte isolated the final encryption layer. This was it. Break this, and she could regain control. But one wrong move and the entire system would corrupt, taking every bit of data with it into digital oblivion. I need silence, complete silence. For the next 90 seconds, nobody breathes loud. The room went dead quiet. Charlotte could hear her own heartbeat, feel sweat trickling down her spine. The code was beautiful in its viciousness, a masterpiece of destruction. She almost admired it. Then she found the vulnerability. Every programmer left one, whether they knew it or not. A signature, a tell, a tiny crack in the armor. This one had gotten cocky, reused a hashing algorithm Charlotte recognized from her old forums. Her fingers moved so fast they blurred, typing commands, redirecting processes, building a counterattack that would turn the ransomware against itself. The screens flickered once, twice, then everything went black. Charlotte's stomach dropped. Behind her, she heard the distinctive sound of guns being cocked. I swear to God, Stephen started. The screens blazed back to life, now glowing green. System restored. Access granted. All files intact. Charlotte fell back in the chair, her hands shaking. Done. The silence stretched for 5 full seconds. Then Stephen started laughing, really laughing, the sound echoing off the marble and glass. Holy shit, you actually did it. I want my money. Charlotte's voice came out steadier than she felt. Stephen pulled out his phone, made a call in rapid Italian. It'll be here in 10 minutes. Cash, unmarked bills, just like you asked. He looked at her differently now, like he was seeing her for the first time. What's your name? Your real name? Charlotte Hayes. And before you ask, yes, I really do deliver pizzas. This, she gestured at the computers, this isn't my life anymore. But it was once. It wasn't a question. Who were you? Charlotte met his eyes, in for a penny, in for a pound. In certain circles, they used to call me Ghost Key. Stephen's expression shifted from curiosity to something like awe. Ghost Key? The one who took down the Markov banking network, who exposed the... That was a long time ago. Different person, different life. Why'd you stop? Charlotte stood up, suddenly exhausted. Because I got tired of looking over my shoulder. Tired of wondering if every knock on the door was the FBI or worse. I wanted normal, boring, safe. She laughed bitterly, though apparently even delivering pizza isn't safe in this city. A man appeared in the doorway holding a black duffel bag. Stephen took it, checked the contents, then held it out to Charlotte. 100,000, as promised. Charlotte took the bag, felt the weight of it. More money than she'd seen in 3 years. We're square? Not even close. Stephen moved between her and the door. That attack? Whoever sent it knows everything about my operation now. They copied the files before you locked them out. Which means somewhere out there, someone has enough information to destroy everything I've built. My people, my businesses, my family. His jaw tightened. I need you to find them. Find them and end this. Whatever it costs. I just told you I'm out of that world. And I'm telling you that you just put yourself right back in. Stephen's voice was gentle but implacable. You think the Russians won't find out who stopped their attack? You think they'll just shrug and move on? You're on their radar now, Charlotte Hayes. The only question is whether you're on mine, too. Charlotte felt the trap closing around her. He was right, damn him. The moment she'd touched that keyboard, the moment she'd used techniques only Ghost Key would know, she'd painted a target on her back. If I do this, she said slowly, I'm not one of your soldiers. I work alone, my way, no questions asked. And when it's done, we're finished. You forget you ever met me. Stephen considered this, then he extended his hand. Deal. But until it's done, you stay close. I've got safe houses all over the city. Pick one. My people will guard you. I don't need guards. Yeah? Stephen gestured to the hallway where Marco's body was being quietly removed. Worked out great for him. Charlotte stared at the offered hand, knowing that if she shook it, everything would change. The quiet life she'd built, the anonymity she'd fought for, all of it would evaporate like morning fog. But the alternative was waiting for the Russians to find her. And they would find her. They always did. She gripped his hand. His palm was calloused, his grip firm. One job, then I disappear. Stephen's smile was all teeth. We'll see. As Charlotte turned to leave, duffel bag over her shoulder, she caught sight of herself in the darkened window. Pizza delivery uniform, ponytail coming loose, fear and adrenaline written across her face. She looked nothing like the confident hacker she used to be. Maybe that was the problem. Maybe you could never really leave your past behind. Maybe it just waited, patient as a spider, for the right moment to pull you back into the web. Behind her, Stephen was already barking orders in Italian, mobilizing his people for whatever came next. And somewhere in the digital dark, the Russians were realizing their perfect attack had failed. Realizing someone had beaten them. Soon they'd want to know who. And then the real game would begin. The safe house was in Red Hook, tucked between a defunct shipping warehouse and a bodega that looked abandoned. Charlotte stood on the cracked sidewalk, duffel bag heavy on her shoulder, staring at the rust-red door. You're joking, she said into her phone. Stephen's voice crackled through. 3rd floor. Code is 47839. Windows are bulletproof, doors reinforced steel. This place looks like where dreams come to die. That's the point. Nobody looks twice at a dump in Red Hook. Background noise, voices arguing in Italian. I've got 4 men posted within 2 blocks. You won't see them, but they'll see anyone coming. Charlotte climbed the narrow staircase. The 3rd floor was surprisingly clean. Exposed brick, minimal furniture, and on a folding table sat 3 brand new laptops and enough equipment to outfit an intelligence agency. You've been busy, she said. I don't do things halfway. Stephen paused. Listen, about earlier. The body, the guns. That's not how I usually conduct business. Charlotte set down her bag. But you do conduct business that way sometimes. When I have to. When someone betrays family. His voice hardened. Marco knew what he signed up for. And now he's dead and I'm supposed to pretend that's normal? I'm asking you to do a job. Find who's coming after me, stop them, walk away. What you think about how I run things is irrelevant. Charlotte opened a laptop. You're right, it is. But she wondered what it said about her that she'd agreed to work for a man who'd just had someone executed. I'll start tracing the attack. There's food in the fridge, cash in the top drawer. Don't leave without calling first. I'm not a prisoner, Stephen. No, but you're not invincible either. He disconnected. Charlotte threw the phone on the couch harder than necessary. 3 peaceful years slinging pizzas, staying off everyone's radar. Now she was neck-deep in criminal enterprise and digital warfare again. The fridge was stocked with expensive cheese, Italian meats, fresh bread, and wine that probably cost more than her rent. In the drawer, $10,000 in mixed bills and underneath, a Glock 19. Even his safe house is pretentious, she muttered. She made a sandwich, poured wine, and sat at the laptops. Her fingers touched the keys, and everything else fell away. This was what she'd missed. Not the danger, but the pure intellectual challenge. The hunt. 2 hours in, she found her first lead. The encryption algorithm showed a distinctive style. Every programmer had tells, quirks in how they wrote code. This one loved recursive functions and sardonic comments mixing English with Russian phrases. Charlotte pulled up old databases, archives of code samples from hundreds of hackers. At 11:47 p.m., she found a match. The style matched someone called Red Winter. Charlotte had crossed paths with them 5 years ago in a forum dispute. Red Winter had been talented but arrogant, leaving signatures because they wanted credit. The trail went cold 3 years ago, but there was one final post. Going corporate. Big opportunities in private sector. Private sector? Defense contractors? Foreign intelligence? Or something worse? Her phone buzzed. Stephen. Tell me you have something. Maybe. Ever hear of Red Winter? No. Should I? They wrote the ransomware. Question is who they're working for now. She stood, stretching. I need Marco's files. His computer, phone, any records. If he set this up, there'll be a trail. Marco's apartment is in Brooklyn Heights. I can have someone take you tomorrow. Not tomorrow. Now. Charlotte checked her watch. It's late. Police won't have processed it yet. If we wait, the Russians might get there first to cover their tracks. Silence. Then, I'll pick you up in 20 minutes. Come armed. Charlotte looked at the Glock. She'd never fired at another person. Never wanted to. But she picked it up anyway, checked the magazine the way her father had taught her before he died. 20 minutes, she said. Stephen's black Mercedes purred through Brooklyn streets. He drove himself, no guards, just them cutting through the city's dangerous rhythm. You know how to use that? He nodded at the gun. Point and shoot, right? Not even close. Don't pull it unless you're ready to use it. Don't use it unless you're ready to kill. He turned onto Marco's street. You ever killed anyone, Charlotte? No. Good. Let's keep it that way. He parked 3 houses down. I'll handle any problems. You just find what we need. They approached from the side using shadows. Stephen moved with fluid grace, years of violence done in darkness. The building's entrance was locked. Stephen produced a key. Marco gave me a spare, back when we were family. 4th floor. Stephen led, one hand inside his jacket. The hallway was empty, muffled TVs behind closed doors. Marco's door was ajar. Stephen froze, held up a hand. He drew his gun, pushed the door open with his foot. The apartment had been ransacked. Furniture overturned, cushions sliced, papers scattered. Someone had been here first. Shit, Stephen whispered. They cleared the rooms. Empty. Charlotte moved to Marco's desk where his computer sat untouched. Strange. It's a trap, she said quietly. They destroyed everything except what we'd want most. The moment we power it on. The window exploded in gunfire. Stephen tackled Charlotte down, covering her as bullets chewed through walls. She couldn't breathe, couldn't think, only feel his weight and hear the impossible loudness. Kitchen. Stephen dragged her up. They ran crouched as bullets tracked them, making it behind the counter as shooting stopped. Sniper across the street, Stephen said. Professional setup. They knew we'd come. Stephen texted rapidly. My people are 2 minutes out. The front door burst open. 2 men in tactical gear stormed in. Stephen fired twice. One went down. The second returned fire. Charlotte's hand found the Glock. She pulled it out, hands trembling. I can't, she gasped. Stephen, I can't. You can. His voice was steady. You're stronger than you think. The gunman rounded the counter. Charlotte saw his face, young, 25, saw his weapon rising. She pulled the trigger. The recoil shocked through her. The bullet went wide. But the gunman flinched, giving Stephen his split second. He fired once. The gunman collapsed. Charlotte stared at the bodies, at the blood. Her hands shook. The gun fell. Hey! Stephen gripped her shoulders. Stay with me. We need to move. I almost... But you didn't. Now we go before more show up. He pulled her up. Can you walk? Charlotte nodded, though her legs felt like water. They made the hallway, the stairs. Stephen's men met them, 3 of them, guns drawn. Quick Italian conversations. Get her to the car, Stephen ordered. In the Mercedes, wrapped in shock, Charlotte watched Brooklyn roll past. She'd crossed a line tonight, pointed a gun at someone, pulled the trigger. That she'd missed felt like a technicality. Where are we going? My place. Safe house is compromised. They knew about Marco's apartment. Stephen's jaw clenched. Someone inside my organization is feeding them information. Another Marco. Looks like it. He glanced at her. You okay? Charlotte laughed bitterly. I got shot at and almost killed someone. So yeah, fantastic. Welcome to my world. Your world is insane. I know, but you're handling it better than most. He turned onto the Manhattan Bridge. My place is in Tribeca, penthouse, top floor security. You'll be safe there. Until the next ambush. Until we find who's doing this and end it. His hands tightened on the wheel. They came after you specifically tonight, Charlotte. They know who you are, what you can do. This isn't just about me anymore. He was right. She'd thought she could take the job and walk away clean. But clean was never an option in this world. Tell me about Red Winter, Stephen said. Everything you know. Charlotte talked, laying out what she'd found. By the time they reached Tribeca, she had a theory. Red Winter had gone corporate, probably working for a Russian syndicate. They'd recruited Marco, promising money or power. But why? What did they gain from destroying Stephen's operation? The penthouse was sleek, modern, floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the Hudson. Art that probably cost more than Charlotte's life. Guest rooms down the hall, Stephen said, pouring scotch. Make yourself at home. Why are you doing this? Charlotte interrupted. Taking care of me. You could have kept me at arm's length. Instead, you're involving me in everything. Stephen was quiet. You remind me of someone. My sister, Lucia. Smart like you. Fearless. But she got pulled into the family business young. He stopped, drank. Car bomb 5 years ago. Meant for me. Charlotte felt something shift. I'm sorry. When I saw you tonight, shaking but not breaking. That's what Lucia would have done. Terrified but pushing through. He met her eyes. I couldn't protect her. Maybe I can protect you. I don't need protecting. Everyone does. He set down his glass. Get some sleep. Tomorrow we find the mole and stop Red Winter. But sleep was impossible. Charlotte lay staring at the ceiling, replaying the gunfight. Around 3 a.m. she gave up and found Stephen still awake by the window with a laptop. Can't sleep? He asked. Can you? Not in years. He gestured to the couch. Might as well be insomniacs together. Charlotte sat. Tell me about your operation. Everything. If we're hunting a mole, I need to know how deep this goes. Stephen studied her. Then he started talking about the contradictions of his world, violence and loyalty, brutality and brotherhood. We're not monsters, he said. Just people trying to survive in a system not designed for us. I take care of my people. Their families are protected. Kids go to good schools. His voice dropped. Marco knew that. He had everything, and he still betrayed us. Charlotte understood then. Not greed drove Stephen, but family. loyalty. The desperate need to protect what was his. It should have scared her. Instead, it made her want to help him more. "We'll find them," she said. "The mole, Red Winter, whoever's pulling strings. We'll stop this." Stephen looked at her, something shifting in his expression. "Yeah, we will." Outside, the city never slept. Neither would they, not until this was finished. Not until the ghosts stopped hunting them both. Charlotte woke to the smell of espresso and Stephen speaking rapid Italian in the next room. Sunlight streamed through windows, making her squint. For a moment she forgot where she was. Then everything rushed back. The gunfight, the blood, the trigger under her finger. Her body ached. The guest room was minimalist, expensive silence. A far cry from her queen's apartment where sirens bled through walls. In the bathroom she found new clothes, jeans, black sweater, underwear and packaging. Her size. Stephen had thought of everything, which somehow made it worse. She was being controlled, drawn deeper into his world with every courtesy. When she emerged, Stephen sat at the dining table surrounded by papers, phone pressed to his ear. He looked different in daylight. Less dangerous, more tired. The scar through his eyebrow caught the light. He ended the call. "Help yourself to coffee. There's food." Charlotte poured espresso, feeling his eyes follow her. "What time is it?" "Almost noon. You slept hard." He pushed a folder across the table. "These are my people. Everyone with access to sensitive information. One of them is feeding the Russians." She opened the folder. 15 faces stared back. Anthony Marcelli, enforcer, 12 years with Stephen. Dominic Russo, financial advisor. Vincent Calabresi, gambling operations. Maria Santos, Stephen's assistant. "How do you know it's one of them?" Charlotte scanned pages. "Because they're the only ones who knew about Red Hook, about Marco's apartment." Stephen's jaw tightened. "Someone told the Russians exactly where to find us." Charlotte studied the faces. Traitors didn't look like traitors. They looked like family until the knife went in. "We need to feed them false information. Set a trap." "I'm listening." "Tell each person something different. A location, time, plan. Whatever leaks, we'll know who's talking." She set down the folder. "But it has to be believable." Stephen leaned back. "There's a shipment Thursday night. We could leak different dock locations to different people. See which gets hit. That works if you're willing to lose the shipment." "I'm willing to lose more than cargo to find this rat." His phone buzzed. His expression darkened. "Christo, another problem." "What now?" "My nephew, Alex. Didn't come home last night. 19 college kid, not involved in any of this." Stephen paced to the window. "His mother's been calling for hours. I told her he probably stayed at a friend's place, but..." Charlotte's stomach dropped. "The Russians took him. They're sending a message, couldn't kill us, so they're going after family." He turned back, something raw in his face. Fear. "Alex is innocent. His mother begged me to keep him out, and I did. I kept my promise." "Can you track his phone?" "Turned off at 2 a.m. in Williamsburg. After that, nothing." Stephen's hands clenched. "If they hurt him..." "They won't. Not yet." Charlotte stood. "They took him for leverage. They want something, which means they'll make contact. When they do, we can trace it. And if they don't? If they just..." He couldn't finish. Charlotte surprised herself by walking over. "We'll find him, I promise." Stephen looked down at her. The mobster facade cracked. Just a man terrified for family. "You can't promise that." "Watch me." She pulled out her phone. "Give me access to Alex's accounts. Social media, email, everything. People leave digital trails." For 3 hours, Charlotte dove into Alex Caruso's digital life. Engineering student at NYU, good grades, normal friends. Instagram showed study sessions and weekend parties. His last post, a textbook photo captioned, "Thermodynamics is trying to kill me." But in his email, Charlotte found something. A message from 4 days ago, sender scrambled but traceable. "We should talk about your uncle's business. Starbucks on Bedford, 8 p.m. Tuesday. He met with someone," Charlotte showed Stephen. "Tuesday night, 2 days before the attack." Stephen's face went pale. Alex wouldn't. He might not have known. They probably posed as journalists, asked innocent questions. Charlotte traced the IP address through proxy servers. But he gave them something, information about you. So this is my fault. It's not your fault that predators hunt for weak spots. Charlotte broke through the final proxy. Got it. Brighton Beach. Brighton Beach. Russian territory, not Stephen's turf. Stephen grabbed his jacket. I'm going there. That's exactly what they want. Charlotte blocked the door. You walk into Brighton Beach, you're declaring war on the Volkov Bratva. My nephew will die if you go in guns blazing. She held his gaze. Let me do this my way. I can find where they're holding Alex without them knowing. Stephen's phone rang. Unknown number. Speaker on. Yeah. A voice, distorted. Stephen Caruso. We have something that belongs to you. If you hurt him, he's unharmed, for now. The voice was calm. We want 3 things. First, the money you stole from Dmitry Volkov 2 years ago. Second, the shipping routes through Red Hook. And third, a pause. The hacker. We want her. Charlotte felt ice flood her veins. Stephen's eyes met hers. You're insane, Stephen said. I'm not giving you 24 hours. After that, we start sending pieces of your nephew to his mother, starting with fingers. The line went dead. Silence crashed through the penthouse. They wanted her, specifically her. I'm not giving them anything, Stephen said quietly. Especially not you. Stephen? No. He faced her fully. They can have the money, the roots. But I'm not handing you over to be tortured and killed. It might be the only way to save Alex. Then we find another way. His voice was steel. I already lost Lucia. I'm not losing anyone else. Charlotte's mind raced. What if we don't give them the real me? Stephen frowned. What? They've never seen me face to face. They only know Ghost Key's reputation. What if we give them someone else? Someone who can pass long enough to get Alex back? A decoy. Bait. Charlotte pulled up her laptop. You must have someone who can handle themselves, smart enough to play the role. Stephen thought. Maria, my assistant. She's sharp, trained in self-defense, knows our operation. Can you trust her? With my life. She helped me build this from nothing. He paused. She's also Alex's godmother. She'd do anything to get him back. Charlotte nodded. We prep Maria, teach her tech jargon. Meanwhile, I track the Russians' digital footprint, find their safe house. When they make the exchange, I'll be in their system, ready to shut down security. If they figure out Maria's not you, that's why we don't give them time. Charlotte was already planning the hack. The moment they have Maria, we move, fast. Get Alex out, get Maria out, burn their operation. Stephen walked to the window, weighing options, calculating costs. This was what he did. Made impossible choices where every answer came with blood. All right, he finally said. We do it your way, but I want backup plans for the backup plans. I'll have eyes on everything. The second something goes wrong, I'll know. And if something goes wrong you can't fix? Charlotte met his eyes. Then I stop hiding behind Maria. No. Stephen. I said no. He crossed to her, close enough she could smell coffee and cologne. You don't make that call. I do, and I'm telling you, if it comes down to you or Alex, I'm choosing both. We get everyone out or we die trying. The certainty in his voice should have frightened her. Instead, Charlotte felt something warm unfold in her chest. When had anyone fought this hard to protect her? You're impossible, she said softly. I'm Italian. It's genetic. A ghost of a smile, then gone. Call Maria. I'll set up the meeting with the Russians for tomorrow night. The rest of the day blurred. Maria arrived within an hour. Sharp-eyed, 40s, silver-streaking black hair. She didn't blink at the plan, just asked what she needed to know. Charlotte taught her basics. How to talk about encryption, reference famous hacks, carry Ghost Key's arrogance. Maria was quick, picking up lingo faster than expected. You've done this before, Charlotte observed. The acting. Maria's smile was thin. I've spent 20 years pretending to be just a secretary while running half of Stephen's operation. Playing a hacker for a few hours. Easy. While they worked, Stephen coordinated with his people. Plans within plans, escape routes and kill zones. The penthouse became a war room. Charlotte barely noticed evening falling. Her eyes burned from screens, fingers ached from typing. But she was close. The Russians' security was good, but nobody was perfect. She'd found 3 vulnerabilities. By tomorrow night, she'd own their network. Around midnight, Maria left. Stephen's people filtered out until just the 2 of them remained, surrounded by papers and empty cups and the weight of tomorrow. "You should sleep," Stephen said, though he made no move toward bed. "So should you. I'll sleep when Alex is home." He loosened his tie. "I keep thinking what I'll tell his mother if this goes wrong." Charlotte saved her work, closed the laptop. "You didn't make this choice. The Russians did. I made the choices that put him in their crosshairs. Every deal, every enemy, it all led here." Stephen's voice was raw. "Sometimes I wonder what life would look like if I'd gone straight. Normal job, normal wife, stayed far away from this. Would you have been happy?" He considered it. "No, probably not. This life, it's in my blood. My father ran these streets, his father before him." He looked at her. "But you had a choice. Why'd you really walk away?" Charlotte had known this question was coming. "I told you. I wanted normal. That's not the whole truth. Maybe because they might die tomorrow," she told him. "There was a job, 3 years ago, corporate espionage. The client wanted financial records from a pharmaceutical company, said it was about exposing price gouging." She wrapped her arms around herself. "Turned out they wanted research data for a cancer drug, sold it to competitors, delayed approval by 2 years. People died waiting, Stephen. People who could have been saved. That wasn't your fault. I stole the data. I didn't ask enough questions." Her voice cracked. "So yeah, I walked away. Because if I kept going, eventually I'd have blood on my hands that no amount of distance could wash off." Stephen was quiet. "You think I have blood on my hands? I think we both do. Different kinds, maybe." She looked at him. "The difference is you own it. You know what you are." "Me? I've been running for 3 years. And now? Now I'm thinking you can't outrun your past. It just waits for you to stop looking over your shoulder." She stood, exhausted. "I'm going to try to sleep. Big day tomorrow." "Charlotte." Stephen caught her hand. His grip was warm, steady. "Thank you for staying when you could have run." She should pull away, maintain distance. Instead, she squeezed back. "Don't thank me yet. Wait until we all survive." In bed, staring at the ceiling, Charlotte wondered which would kill her first, the bullets or the past she'd tried to leave behind. The exchange was set for 11 p.m. at an abandoned fish processing plant in Red Hook. Charlotte had spent all day inside the Russians' network, mapping every camera, every door lock, every security protocol. Maria stood before the mirror in dark clothes matching Charlotte's style. Hair pulled tight, unnecessary glasses. The transformation was uncanny. "How do I look?" Maria asked. "Like someone who could ruin lives with a laptop," Charlotte said. "Perfect." Stephen coordinated on the phone. 20 soldiers around the perimeter, snipers on 2 buildings, 3 extraction teams ready. The kind of operation that could start a war. He hung up, face grim. "Everyone's positioned. Tony goes in with you, plays security." "If they search me? Find the wire?" Maria asked. "Improvise." Stephen's jaw tightened. "Buy time until we extract you." Charlotte pulled up security feeds on her laptop. "I've got eyes on everything. The moment you're inside, I'll shut down their escape routes." They left at 10:30, 3 cars moving through Brooklyn's darkness. Charlotte rode with Stephen, watching feeds. The plant looked abandoned, but infrared showed 15 people inside. "They brought an army," Charlotte said. Stephen's hands tightened on the wheel. "So did we." They parked 2 blocks away. Maria and Tony walked toward the plant like heading to execution. Charlotte's heart hammered as they disappeared through the entrance. Camera feeds showed them led into the main processing room. Rusted equipment, broken conveyor belts, and in the center, Alex sat bound and gagged, terrified but unharmed. "He's alive," Stephen breathed. A man stepped forward. Tall, broad-shaved head. Dmitry Volkov himself, head of the Russian Bratva. "The hacker," Dmitry said in accented English. "You don't look dangerous." Maria kept neutral. "Looks are deceiving, Dmitry." He smiled. "Brave words. Let's see if you're as good as your reputation. Hack into the NYPD database. Show me what Ghost Key can do." Charlotte's fingers flew. "Shit, he's testing her." "Can you do it from there?" Stephen asked. "I can try. Tell Maria to stall. 2 minutes." Through Maria's wire, Stephen spoke. "Stall him. 2 minutes." Maria sat at the laptop, fingers hovering. "The NYPD? That's child's play. I thought you wanted to test me." "Then it should be easy," Dmitry said. "Unless Ghost Key is all reputation." "I'll do it, but first, I want to see the money and confirmation the boy walks." Dmitry laughed. "You're in no position for demands." "Actually, I'm in the perfect position. You need me more than I need you." Maria leaned back. "Show me you're serious, or I walk." Charlotte broke through the NYPD's firewall. Maria's screen lit up with police records. She scrolled through information only someone with real access could see. Officer James Martinez, badge 4782. 3 complaints for excessive force. Bank account with $47,000 on a $65,000 salary. Want me to dig deeper? Enough. Dmitry studied her. You've proven your point. He turned to Alex. Cut the boy loose. A man moved toward Alex with a knife. Charlotte held her breath. Then Dmitry's phone rang. He answered, listened, and his face transformed into something terrible. That's interesting. Someone's been inside our network all day. Someone very talented watching through our own cameras. Charlotte's blood turned to ice. My tech guy says this hacker's style matches Ghost Key perfectly. The real Ghost Key. Dmitry pulled out a gun, pointing at Maria. Which means you're just a decoy. Everything happened at once. Maria dove behind equipment. Tony fired. Alex ran but was grabbed back. Gunfire erupted from all directions. Go, go, go! Stephen shouted, signaling his people to breach. Charlotte shut down the lights, locked exits. Camera feeds showed chaos. Stephen's soldiers pouring through windows, muzzle flashes in darkness. Maria's signal went dead, Charlotte said, panicking. Stephen was already out, gun drawn, running toward the plant. Charlotte grabbed her laptop and followed. Inside was a war zone. Bodies on concrete, air thick with gunpowder. Charlotte ducked behind a pillar. She saw Tony firing at 3 Russians, then Maria, dragging Alex toward a back exit. Then Dmitry appeared behind them, gun raised. Charlotte didn't think. She ran from cover, screaming Maria's name. Maria turned, saw Dmitry, pushed Alex down. The gun fired, once, twice. Maria jerked and fell. Tony shot Dmitry in the shoulder. Stephen's men overwhelmed the remaining Russians. Within seconds it was over, but Maria lay on concrete, blood spreading across her chest. Charlotte dropped beside her. No, 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 Maria, stay with me. Maria's eyes were unfocused. Alex, is Alex? He's fine. You saved him. Charlotte pressed against the wounds. Just hold on. Stephen appeared, face white. Get a medic, now. Stephen, Maria whispered. Take care of my boys. Promise. You're going to be fine. But his voice cracked. Maria smiled weakly. Bad liar. Her eyes found Charlotte. You're good. For him. Keep him. Human. Then her eyes closed. A medic pushed Charlotte aside, started working. Chest compressions, equipment. Stephen pulled Charlotte back as she fought to return. The medic kept working, but Charlotte saw resignation in his face. Time of death, 11:47 p.m., he finally said. Stephen made a sound of raw grief. He sank beside Maria's body, took her hand. Charlotte stood shaking, unable to process. They'd won. They'd gotten Alex back. But Maria was dead, and it was Charlotte's plan that killed her. Tony approached Dmitry, still bleeding. Boss, what do you want us to do with him? Stephen stood slowly, something terrifying in his eyes. Take him somewhere private, somewhere no one will hear him scream. Wait. Charlotte found her voice. We need him alive. He can tell us who hired Red Winter. I know who's behind this. The Volkov Bratva. No. Dmitri's not smart enough for the ransomware attack. Someone else is pulling strings. Charlotte looked at Maria's covered body. She died for this. Don't waste it by stopping halfway. Stephen finally nodded to Tony. Take him to the warehouse. Keep him alive. For now. Outside, dawn broke over Brooklyn. Pink and gold sky, beautiful and wrong. Take Alex home, Stephen said to his men. Tell his mother he's safe. After Alex left, Charlotte and Stephen stood in the parking lot. It's my fault, Charlotte said. My plan killed her. No, Dmitri's bullet killed her. Stephen's voice was flat, and my choices brought us here. They drove back in silence. Charlotte scrubbed Maria's blood from her hands, watching water run red, then pink, then clear. Stephen stood at the window with scotch. I need to call Maria's sons. You're right, Charlotte said quietly. I didn't know her, but I know she wouldn't want you starting a war. She'd want you to finish this smart. Stephen's mask cracked. He sat heavily, buried his face in his hands. Charlotte sat beside him, put her arm around his shoulders. He leaned into her, body shaking with silent sobs. After a long time, he pulled away. Maria would have liked you. She sounds like she was smart. The smartest. Some steel returned. Okay, we do this your way. We find Red Winter. But Charlotte, when we do, there won't be trials. Only consequences. I know. Her laptop chimed. An email to her secure account. The message was one line. Congratulations on surviving last night. But the real game is just beginning. R.W. Red Winter had been watching the whole time, and now they were ready to make their move. Charlotte woke to the smell of espresso and Stephen speaking rapid Italian in the next room. Sunlight streamed through windows, making her squint. For a moment she forgot where she was. Then everything rushed back. The gunfight, the blood, the trigger under her finger. Her body ached. The guest room was minimalist, expensive silence. A far cry from her queen's apartment where sirens bled through walls. In the bathroom she found new clothes, jeans, black sweater, underwear and packaging. Her size. Stephen had thought of everything, which somehow made it worse. She was being controlled, drawn deeper into his world with every courtesy. When she emerged, Stephen sat at the dining table surrounded by papers, phone pressed to his ear. He looked different in daylight, less dangerous, more tired. The scar through his eyebrow caught the light. He ended the call. Help yourself to coffee. There's food. Charlotte poured espresso, feeling his eyes follow her. What time is it? Almost noon. You slept hard. He pushed a folder across the table. These are my people. Everyone with access to sensitive information. One of them is feeding the Russians. She opened the folder. 15 faces stared back. Anthony Marcelli, enforcer, 12 years with Stephen. Dominic Russo, financial advisor. Vincent Calabresi, gambling operations. Maria Santos, Stephen's assistant. How do you know it's one of them? Charlotte scanned pages. Because they're the only ones who knew about Red Hook, about Marco's apartment. Stephen's jaw tightened. Someone told the Russians exactly where to find us. Charlotte studied the faces. Traitors didn't look like traitors. They looked like family, until the night, body shaking with silent sobs. After a long time, he pulled away. Maria would have liked you. She sounds like she was smart. The smartest. Some steel returned. Okay, we do this your way. We find Red Winter. But Charlotte, when we do, there won't be trials. Only consequences. I know. Her laptop chimed. An email to her secure account. The message was one line. Congratulations on surviving last night, but the real game is just beginning. R.W. Red Winter had been watching the whole time, and now they were ready to make their move. Charlotte stared at the email, blood running cold. Red Winter wasn't just watching, they were taunting them. What is it? Stephen moved behind her to read the screen. They were there, watching everything. Charlotte's fingers flew across the keyboard, trying to trace the origin. They saw Maria die and they're treating it like entertainment. Stephen's hand gripped her chair. Can you find them? They're routing through proxies, but... Charlotte stopped, eyes widening. Wait, This is wrong. What's wrong? The routing pattern. Too obvious. Too easy to follow. She checked the code structure. Red Winter is better than this. They wouldn't leave such a clear trail unless it's a trap, Stephen finished, or an invitation. Charlotte sat back. They want me to follow this. They want me to find them. Why? Dmitri said something last night. He said his tech guy told him someone was in their network. She turned to Stephen. Red Winter was monitoring the Russians at the same time I was. They knew I'd be there. Stephen's jaw clenched. So they fed Dmitri the information about Maria. They got her killed on purpose. To draw me out, to make this personal. Rage built in Charlotte's chest. They're playing games and Maria was just a piece on the board. Then let's stop playing. Stephen pulled out his phone. I'm calling Tony. We make Dmitri talk. 2 hours later, they stood in a Queens warehouse. Cold concrete, stains Charlotte didn't want to think about. Dmitri sat in a metal chair, hands zip-tied, dried blood on his shoulder. Tony stood nearby with 2 armed men. When Stephen entered, Dmitri smiled. Stephen Caruso, come to finish what you started. Stephen pulled up a chair. I'm going to ask questions. You're going to answer. How this goes depends on your cooperation. Dmitri laughed. You think I'm afraid? I've been tortured by professionals. I'm not interested in torture. I'm interested in information. Who hired you? I don't know what you're talking about. Stephen nodded to Tony, who drove his fist into Dmitri's injured shoulder. The Russian screamed, chair tipping back. Charlotte flinched, but didn't look away. Let's try again, Stephen said. Who hired you? Dmitri's face was pale, sweating. I received a message, encrypted, offering money to take down your operation. From who? I don't know. Signed RW, that's all. Charlotte stepped forward. Red Winter contacted you directly? Dmitri's eyes found her. You're the real one, the real Ghost Key. He spat blood. You should have stayed hidden. Now they're going to destroy you. Who is they? Charlotte demanded. I don't know. Red Winter works for someone bigger, someone with resources I can't imagine. Dmitri's breathing labored. All I know is they wanted your attention. The ransomware, Marco, taking the boy, all designed to force Ghost Key out of hiding. Stephen leaned closer. Why? Why go through all this for one hacker? Because she's not just one hacker. Ghost Key is a legend, and legends are dangerous when they fight back. Someone wants her working for them or dead, no in between. Charlotte felt the weight settle over her. 3 years hiding, and someone had been waiting for the right pressure to force her back. Where can I find Red Winter? Dmitri shook his head. I don't know. We only communicated through encrypted channels. But... He hesitated. But what? Stephen's voice was steel. There was one video call, brief. The connection was routed through Manhattan, I could tell from latency, and in the background I heard something. A train, not subway, too quiet. Maybe Path or the High Line, Charlotte interrupted. Buildings near the High Line where you can hear trains but they're muffled. Expensive area, tech companies. Dmitri nodded weakly. That's all I have, I swear. Stephen stood, looked at Tony. Keep him here, alive. We might need him. Walking to the car, Charlotte's mind raced. The High Line area, Chelsea, meatpacking district, hundreds of buildings. Can you narrow it down? If Red Winter made that call, there'll be a digital footprint. I just need to find it. She stopped. What happens to Dmitri when this is over? Stephen's expression was unreadable. Does it matter? It matters to me. I need to know what kind of man I'm working with. The kind who protects his own. Who makes sure threats are permanently neutralized. He met her eyes. You want me to say I'll let him go? After Maria? I want you to be honest. Honestly? When this is over, Dmitri disappears. Whether that's a hole in the ground or a flight to Russia depends on how useful he continues to be. Stephen opened the car door. Don't pretend you don't understand it. She did understand. That was the problem. Back at the penthouse, Charlotte dove into the search. 6 hours of painstaking work, cross-referencing thousands of data points. Finally, she found something. A call from a building on West 15th Street, routed through Red Winter's proxy servers. Got it, she said. Mixed-use development. Tech startups below, luxury apartments above. Stephen looked over her shoulder. Which unit? Working on it. Charlotte hacked the building's security, pulling access logs. Someone on the 8th floor is using enormous bandwidth, way more than normal. Apartment 8C, Stephen read. Registered to Winterborn Enterprises. Charlotte almost laughed. Winterborn, Winter. They want us to find them. Then we shouldn't keep them waiting. Stephen pulled out his phone. No. Charlotte grabbed his arm. That's what they want. Another trap like the fish plant. So what do you suggest? I go in alone. Digital reconnaissance first. Hack their systems from outside before we commit. Absolutely not. You're not going anywhere without backup. If we send your army, they'll disappear. She held his gaze. I can do this, Stephen. It's also how you get killed. Then come with me. Just you. We'll park nearby. I'll work from the car. Stephen considered, jaw tight. If anything suspicious happens, we leave. No heroics. Understood. They left at 10 p.m. in an unmarked sedan. The building was modern glass and steel, glowing against night. Stephen parked across the street with a clear view. Charlotte connected to the building's Wi-Fi, working through firewalls. She gained access to Apartment 8C's network. What she found made her freeze. Oh my God. What? Charlotte turned the laptop. The screen showed camera feeds, not from 8C but everywhere. Stephen's penthouse, the warehouse with Dimitri, the fish plant, even Red Hook. They've been watching everything. Charlotte whispered. Every location, every conversation. Stephen's face went white. How? Someone in your organization gave them access, planted cameras and bugs everywhere. Charlotte traced the surveillance network. Look at the timestamp. The surveillance started months ago, long before the ransomware, before Marco, before any of this. They've been planning this for months, Stephen said. Charlotte pulled up more files, financial records, communication logs, operational plans. The scope was staggering. Then she found the file that changed everything. Ghost key, personal history. Charlotte opened it, heart sinking. Every detail of her life, her real name, family, father's death, every hack, every alias, information she'd never told anyone. They know everything about me, she said, voice shaking. Stephen read over her shoulder. Who is Red Winter? Who has this kind of information? Charlotte kept reading. Then she saw it, a name in the file notes, a name that made her world stop. No, she breathed. It can't be. Charlotte, what? I know who Red Winter is. She looked at Stephen, tears stinging. It's my brother. The silence was deafening. You don't have a brother, Stephen said carefully. Your file says you're an only child. My file is wrong. I had a brother. Daniel. 2 years older. Charlotte's hands trembled. He taught me everything about hacking. We worked together before I became Ghost Key. But then a job went wrong. Client turned out to be FBI. Daniel took the fall, went to prison so I could stay free. I visited the first year, but then he told me to stop. Said I reminded him of everything he'd lost. When did he get out? 3 years ago, right when I quit hacking. Charlotte wiped her eyes. I tried to find him, make things right. But he'd disappeared, changed his name, erased his footprint. I thought maybe he'd died or left the country. Stephen was quiet. If he's your brother, why do this? Why come after you? Because I abandoned him. I built a reputation while he rotted in prison for my mistakes. When he got out, I was gone, living normal while he had nothing. Charlotte looked at the building. He's not trying to recruit or kill me. He's trying to make me understand what it feels like to lose everything. Maria, Stephen said softly. He knew she'd die. He wanted me to feel the guilt, the responsibility. Charlotte closed the laptop. He's not in that apartment. This is just another game. Then where is he? Charlotte thought through everything, the attacks, timing, messages. Suddenly she understood. The funeral, she said. Maria's funeral is tomorrow. He'll be there. How do you know? Because that's where I'll be most vulnerable, where he can finally face me. She looked at Stephen. He's been orchestrating this to lead us to that moment. Tomorrow at Maria's funeral, this ends. Stephen started the car. Then tomorrow we finish this, your way or mine, but it ends. As they drove through Manhattan's dark streets, Charlotte couldn't stop thinking about Daniel, her brother, her mentor, her first partner, the person she'd failed most completely. Tomorrow she'd face him, and one of them wouldn't walk away. Maria's funeral was held at St. Anthony's, a small Catholic church in Brooklyn, where she'd been baptized 43 years ago. The morning was gray and cold, weather matching the heaviness in everyone's hearts. Charlotte stood beside Stephen in the back, watching mourners file in. Maria's two sons sat in the front pew, barely holding themselves together. Their father had died years ago, and now their mother too, because of Charlotte. "Stop," Stephen said quietly, reading her thoughts. "This isn't on you, isn't it? If I'd never agreed to help, then more people would be dead, and Maria would still be gone. The Russians would have come after everyone eventually." He touched her arm. She knew the risks. She chose to help. The service began. A priest spoke about Maria's kindness, her strength, her dedication to family. People shared memories, funny stories, touching moments, glimpses of a woman Charlotte barely knew but would never forget. Throughout it all, Charlotte's eyes scanned the crowd, looking for a face she hadn't seen in 3 years, looking for Daniel. He wasn't there. After the service, they moved to the cemetery. Rain fell in sheets as they lowered Maria's casket. Stephen stood rigid, jaw clenched, refusing emotion. But Charlotte saw his hands shaking. As the crowd dispersed, Charlotte noticed a man standing apart, tall, thin, black coat with collar turned up. Watching her, her heart stopped. Daniel. He looked different, older, harder, lines around his eyes. But it was him, her brother. He nodded once, then turned and walked toward the gates. Charlotte didn't think. She just followed. "Charlotte, wait!" Stephen called, but she was already running through rain, weaving between headstones, chasing the ghost of her past. Daniel led her to an old mausoleum at the far edge, away from everyone. He stopped in the doorway, finally turning. "Hello, Charlie," he said. The childhood nickname hit like a punch. "Daniel." Her voice cracked. "Why? Why are you doing this? Why?" He laughed bitterly. "You really have to ask? You left me to rot, Charlotte. 5 years in prison while you became famous, made millions, lived the life we were supposed to build together. You told me to stop visiting. You said you never wanted to see me again. Because every time I saw you, it reminded me that I was in there because of your mistake." His voice rose. "That job was supposed to be simple, but you didn't check properly. And when the FBI showed up, who did they catch? Me, while you slipped away." Charlotte felt tears mixing with rain. "I tried to turn myself in, 3 times, but you'd already confessed, taken full responsibility. You wouldn't let me save you. Because I loved you, you idiot. Because you were my little sister and I couldn't let you throw your life away." Daniel's eyes were wet now. "But then what did you do? You kept hacking. You became Ghost Key. You took everything I taught you and made yourself a legend while I was forgotten." "That's not true. I never forgot you. Every hack was for you. I was trying to make enough money to fix things, to get you the best lawyers, to ease your guilt. That's all it was." Daniel stepped closer. "And then, when I finally got out, when I came looking for you, you were gone. Vanished. Living some normal life like none of it ever mattered. I quit because I couldn't do it anymore. Because every time I hacked into something, I saw your face. I saw what it cost you." Charlotte wiped her eyes. "I quit because I was drowning in guilt. So you survived by forgetting me. How convenient. I never forgot you." Charlotte's voice broke. "I looked everywhere. I tried to find you for months, but you'd erased yourself so completely. I thought maybe you were dead." Daniel was quiet. When he spoke, his voice was softer. "I wasn't dead. I was becoming Red Winter, learning everything, building connections, gathering resources, all so I could do what I'm doing now." Destroying innocent people. Getting Maria killed. That's your revenge. Maria wasn't innocent. None of them are. His face hardened. They're all part of this world that destroys lives. I'm just evening the scales. By becoming exactly what you claim to hate. Charlotte stepped forward. You're not evening anything, Daniel. You're just spreading more pain. Good. Because pain is the only thing that makes people understand. He pulled out a phone. In 10 minutes, every piece of dirt I have on Stephen Caruso goes public. Financial records, murder confessions, connections to every illegal operation. His empire burns. Charlotte's blood ran cold. You can't. There are innocent people, families, kids, who depend on those operations. Collateral damage, just like I was. No. Charlotte stepped closer. You weren't collateral damage. You were my brother, and I failed you. I admit that. I carry that guilt every day. But destroying Stephen won't change what happened to us. It won't give you back those 5 years. It'll just make you a monster. Maybe I'm already a monster. Maybe prison made me one. Daniel's finger hovered over the phone. You have 30 seconds to convince me otherwise. Charlotte's mind raced. All she had was words. You're right, she said finally. I failed you. I abandoned you. I let you take the fall for my mistake, and then I ran away. You have every right to hate me. Daniel's expression flickered with surprise. But that woman who died last night, Maria, she had 2 sons. They just buried their mother in the rain. And if you destroy Stephen's organization, you'll destroy them too. Their college funds, their security, their future. Charlotte's voice shook. Please, Daniel, punish me if you want. Expose me. Destroy me. But don't hurt people who have nothing to do with this. They have everything to do with this. They're kids. They didn't choose this life. Charlotte took another step. You used to tell me that the best hackers weren't the ones with the most skill. They were the ones who knew when to stop. When to walk away before they became the villains. You taught me that, Daniel. Don't forget it now. Daniel stared at the phone. 10 seconds. 5, 2. He lowered it. Damn you, Charlie, he whispered. Damn you for still being able to get through to me. Charlotte closed the distance, pulling him into a hug he didn't return at first. Then slowly, his arms came up around her, and she felt him shake with sobs. I'm sorry, she said into his shoulder. I'm so sorry for everything. I know you are. Daniel pulled back, wiping his eyes. But sorry doesn't fix anything. No. But maybe we can start fixing things together. Before Daniel could respond, Stephen appeared at the entrance, gun drawn, 3 men behind him. Step away from her, Stephen said, voice deadly calm. Charlotte moved between them. No, Stephen, wait. We were just talking. Talking? He's Red Winter. He got Maria killed. I know, but he's also my brother. Charlotte kept her hands up. And he's not going to release those files. Right, Daniel? Daniel looked at Stephen with hatred. You don't deserve mercy. Maybe not, but Maria's sons deserve a future, and Charlotte deserves not to watch her brother die today. Stephen didn't lower the gun. So here's what's going to happen. You delete every file you have on me. Then you disappear. Leave New York. Leave the country. But if I ever see you again, if you ever come near Charlotte or anyone I care about, I will kill you. Slowly. Painfully. Stephen. Charlotte started. No. This is non-negotiable. He gets to live because you're asking me to spare him. But that's all he gets. One chance to walk away. Daniel looked at Charlotte. You really care about him. This mob boss. I do. Even though you know what he is, what he's done, I know what I am too. What I've done. Charlotte's voice was steady. Maybe we're all trying to survive in a world that doesn't give us better options. Daniel was silent. Then he pulled out his phone, navigated to a folder, and deleted it. Then another and another. Charlotte watched the files disappear. All the leverage, all the ammunition. Done, Daniel said quietly. It's all gone. Stephen nodded to his men, who lowered their weapons. Then go, now, before I change my mind. Daniel looked at Charlotte one last time. For what it's worth, I'm glad you found something. Someone. even if I don't understand it. Daniel. Goodbye, Charlie. He walked past Stephen and out into the rain, disappearing between headstones like a ghost fading. Charlotte stood there, watching him go, feeling like a piece of her heart was walking away. Stephen came to stand beside her. Are you okay? I don't know. Ask me in a few years. She turned to him. Thank you for not killing him. I didn't do it for him. I did it for you. Stephen's expression softened. Though I reserve the right to regret this decision. Charlotte managed a small smile. That's fair. They walked back through the cemetery together, past Maria's fresh grave, past mourners under umbrellas. Stephen's men fell in behind them. What happens now? Charlotte asked. Now we make sure Daniel actually leaves. I've got people tracking him. If he stays in the city, if he breaks his word, then... Stephen left the threat unfinished. And if he keeps his word? Then we move on. We rebuild. We figure out how to live with everything we've done. Stephen stopped, turned to face her. Charlotte, I need to know. Are you going to disappear again? Go back to delivering pizzas? Charlotte thought about it. About 3 years of hiding, pretending. About the past week of violence and loss, and finding parts of herself she'd buried. No, she said finally. I don't think I can go back. But I don't know what moving forward looks like either. Maybe we figure it out together. Stephen held out his hand. I know my world is dangerous, but if you want to stay, if you want to help me build something better, I'd like that. Charlotte looked at his offered hand, at the scars on his knuckles, at the strength and gentleness combined. She took his hand. Okay, she said. Together. But Stephen, if we're doing this, we do it differently. No more secrets. No more treating people as disposable. That's a tall order for a mob boss. Then maybe it's time to be something other than just a mob boss. Stephen smiled, a real smile. You're going to be trouble, aren't you? Definitely. Good. I hate being bored. They walked out together, rain falling around them, washing away blood and grief. Behind them, Maria rested in peace. Ahead, the future was uncertain and dangerous, but for the first time in 3 years, Charlotte felt like she was exactly where she was supposed to be. Even if it was in the middle of organized crime, holding hands with a man who'd killed people, planning to rebuild an empire from the inside out. Life was complicated, but at least it was real. 3 months after Maria's funeral, Charlotte stood in what used to be a warehouse in Queens. Now it was something else, part tech hub, part community center, part legitimate front for Stephen's operations. You're sure about this? Stephen asked, watching workers install computer equipment. I'm sure. Charlotte ran her hand along a desk. We can't change everything overnight, but we can start. Job training programs, coding classes for kids in the neighborhood, legitimate tech consulting. We use what we're good at to actually help people. Stephen looked skeptical. And you think my people will go for this? Half of them have been running numbers and moving cargo their whole lives. Then we teach them new skills. The world's changing, Stephen. Either we change with it, or we get left behind. Charlotte pulled up a spreadsheet on her laptop. Look, I've already got contracts with 3 companies who need cybersecurity consulting. Legitimate work, good money. We can funnel profits back into the community programs. And when the other families find out I'm going soft, when they see this as weakness, Charlotte closed the laptop and faced him. Then we show them it's not weakness, it's evolution. You said you wanted to build something better. This is how we start. Stephen was quiet for a long moment, looking around the space. Finally, he nodded. All right, we try it your way. But Charlotte, if this blows up in our faces... It won't. She said it with more confidence than she felt. Charlotte smiled. Marco had been skeptical at first, convinced he was too old to learn. Now he taught 3 classes a week and talked about getting his teaching certificate. How's it going? Stephen asked, coming up beside her with 2 coffee cups. Better than expected. We've got a waiting list now. Kids from all over the borough. Charlotte took the coffee. Google sent a recruiter last week looking for interns. From our program? Stephen raised his eyebrows. That's impressive. That's the point. We give these kids skills, connections, a way out. Charlotte watched one girl, Rosa, 16, brilliant with algorithms, debug another student's code. Rosa got accepted to MIT yesterday, full scholarship. Stephen's expression softened. Maria would have loved this. I know. I think about her every time I walk in here. Charlotte turned to him. We should do something. A scholarship in her name. Consider it done. I'll have the lawyers set up the foundation this week. Stephen checked his phone. We've got that meeting with the other families in an hour. You ready? The meeting was at a restaurant in Little Italy, neutral territory. Stephen had called it to formally announce the changes in his operations, the shift toward legitimate business, the community programs. Some would see it as weakness, others as evolution. Either way, this meeting would determine whether they'd be allowed to change or forced to defend their territory. They arrived early. The private room had a long table, 6 chairs. Stephen took the head. Charlotte sat to his right, laptop ready. The other bosses arrived one by one. Vincent Castellano, old-school mobster in his 60s. Angela Russo, sharp-eyed, ran gambling operations. David Chen, youngest at 42, managed import-export. And finally, Nikolai Volkov, who'd taken over Russian operations after Dmitry disappeared. Nikolai's eyes found Charlotte immediately. So this is the famous ghost key. The woman who brought down my cousin. Your cousin brought himself down, Charlotte said evenly. I just helped clean up the mess. Nikolai smiled, but there was no warmth. Perhaps you're more dangerous than you look. Thank you for coming, Stephen said, cutting through tension. I know there have been rumors about changes I'm making. I wanted to address those directly. Rumors? Vincent leaned back. Stephen, you've gone soft. Community centers, job training. This isn't how we do business. It's how I do business now. Stephen's voice was calm but firm. The world's changing. Law enforcement has better technology. The old ways don't work anymore. We either adapt or end up extinct. Angela tapped her nails on the table. And you think teaching kids to code is going to protect us? I think diversifying into legitimate businesses protects us. Charlotte pulled up her laptop, displayed a presentation. Look at these numbers. Our tech consulting firm grossed $2 million last quarter. All legal, all clean. We're building something sustainable. David Chen studied the numbers. That's impressive. But what about our traditional revenue streams? Still operating, Stephen said, but transitioning. We're not abandoning everything overnight. We're adding legitimate options alongside the old business. Think of it as insurance. Insurance against what? Nikolai asked. Against being who we are. Against becoming irrelevant. Stephen leaned forward. My grandfather started this organization to protect his people, to give them opportunities. That mission hasn't changed. The methods have. Vincent shook his head. I've been doing this for 40 years. I've seen reform attempts before. They always fail because at our core, we're predators. Maybe, Charlotte said. Or maybe we're just people trying to survive in a system stacked against us from the start. My father worked for the CIA, did things most would call monstrous to protect his country. Was he a predator? Or just someone making impossible choices? The room was quiet. Vincent's expression softened slightly. I'm not asking you to change your operations, Stephen continued. I'm just telling you about mine. But I am asking for your support, or at least your tolerance. Let me try this. And if it fails and brings heat on all of us, Angela asked, then I take full responsibility. The heat stays on me. Charlotte clicked to another slide. We've compartmentalized everything. The legitimate businesses are completely separate from traditional operations. If the feds investigate one side, they won't find connections to the other. You've thought this through, Nikolai admitted. But if other organizations see the Caruso family going soft, they might test us. Let them try. Stephen's voice went cold. I'm transitioning to legitimate business, not becoming a pacifist. Anyone who comes after what's mine will regret it. Vincent studied Stephen, then nodded. All right, you've got my support, or at least my neutrality. One by one, the other bosses agreed. Only Nikolai remained skeptical. "I'll tolerate this experiment," he said finally. "But the Russians don't forget. My cousin may be in prison, but his honor demands satisfaction. Someday there will be a reckoning. Then we'll deal with it when it comes." Stephen stood. "Until then, we coexist peacefully." "Agreed?" Nikolai stood as well. "Agreed. For now." After the others left, Charlotte and Stephen sat alone. "That went better than expected," Charlotte said. "Better than I feared, worse than I hoped." Stephen rubbed his eyes. "Nikolai's going to be a problem eventually." "Eventually isn't today. Today we bought time." Charlotte closed her laptop. "That's a win." Stephen reached across the table, took her hand. "I couldn't do this without you. The legitimate businesses, the community programs, that's all you. It's us. Together." Charlotte squeezed his hand. Stephen stood, moved around the table, and to Charlotte's surprise, dropped to one knee. "Stephen, what are you?" He pulled out a small velvet box. Inside was a ring. Simple, elegant, a single diamond. "Charlotte Hayes, Ghost Key, pizza delivery girl, the most brilliant and infuriating woman I've ever met." Stephen's voice was thick with emotion. "I know my world is complicated. I know I'm not the safe choice. But I love you. I've loved you since you walked into my office with that pizza and saved my operation. Will you marry me?" Charlotte felt tears streaming down her face. 6 months ago, she'd been hiding from her past, delivering pizzas, pretending. Now she was here, building an empire with a man who saw all of her and loved her anyway. "Yes," she said, voice barely above a whisper. "Yes, you complicated, dangerous, impossible man. I'll marry you." Stephen slipped the ring onto her finger, then stood and pulled her into a kiss that tasted like coffee and promise and new beginnings. "Your timing is terrible," Charlotte laughed through tears. "We just finished a tense meeting, and you decide now is the moment for romance. I wanted to propose somewhere meaningful. This is where we got approval to build something new." Stephen wiped tears from her cheeks. "Besides, in our world, you can't wait for perfect moments. You have to make them." They left the restaurant hand in hand, walking into the New York evening. 3 months later, they were married in a small ceremony at the community center. Rosa helped set up computers displaying photos of Maria, of Stephen's sister Lucia, of Charlotte's father, all the people lost along the way who'd made this moment possible. Tony gave Charlotte away, tears streaming down his face. Angela Russo was there, along with David Chen and even Vincent Castellano. The old and the new, all gathered to witness genuine love surviving against impossible odds. As Charlotte walked down the makeshift aisle between rows of computers, she thought about the journey that had brought her here. From Ghost Key to pizza delivery girl to mob consultant to, what? Wife, partner, architect of a new kind of empire, all of the above. When she reached Stephen, when he took her hands and smiled at her with that mix of love and mischief, Charlotte knew she'd made the right choice. "Ready?" the priest asked. Charlotte looked at Stephen, at the community they'd built, at the future stretching ahead. "Ready," she said. And she was. The past had brought her here, through prison and betrayal, through loss and redemption, through code and chaos. But the future was theirs to write, one line at a time. As the priest pronounced them husband and wife, as Stephen kissed her to applause from an audience of mobsters and students, Charlotte felt something she hadn't felt in years. Hope. Not naive hope, but the hard-earned hope of someone who'd seen darkness and chosen to build light anyway. Outside, the New York sun set over Queens, painting the sky gold and crimson. And in a community center that used to be a warehouse, surrounded by computers teaching kids to code their way out of poverty, Charlotte and Stephen began their life together. It wouldn't be perfect. Nothing ever was. But it would be theirs. Built on truth instead of lies, on partnership instead of power, on the radical belief that even people with blood on their hands could still reach for something better. And sometimes that was enough. More than enough. It was everything. If you enjoy stories like this, take a moment to subscribe to the channel. That's how I'll know you truly liked it. Even if you're watching on your TV, Grab a second to join this family of fans who love emotional and heartfelt stories. Your support means everything, and it helps us bring you even more tales like this one.